We have this issue here with continued ICE raids, and I just have to point out for people that don't understand how obvious it is that he's not doing this to pay workers more. Is Donald Trump is himself a capitalist. Not only is he himself a business owner who has
stiffed workers directly.
Undocumented workers, Vanity Fair report, Trump happily employing undocumented workers in 2019. And famously, in the 1980s, a journalist named Wayne Barrett has outlined this in one of his books before he passed in the past decade. But in the 80s, when Trump was doing Trump Tower, the building there had a whole bunch of asbestos that he bought, and he was using undocumented Polish workers to work there, and he stiffed them, like you say, to the point where they threatened to hang the liaison that Trump was using to hire them. And guess what Trump did? He called border enforcement. He called border enforcement on them until they, as a threat, which is how people like Trump do ICE.
That's what they want. And I just want to say that's not just what they want for undocumented immigrants. That's what they want for citizens too. They when you disrespect your boss, they want to be able to call the police on you, like they want to be able to throw you in jail.
Absolutely. And so we have this. This is Oxnard ICE agents in Oxnard, basically chasing people through fields. Before we get to what the new sort of issue that Trump is having with this.
ICE agents arrived at the field you see behind me earlier this morning. In fact, according to a couple of farm workers we had a chance to talk to, ICE agents arrived right around 6 o'clock this morning. Cell phone video that was posted online right after the raid show ICE agents chasing after some of the workers. ICE hasn't said how many people they detained at this raid earlier today. The agriculture industry in Ventura County is a $2 billion a year industry. That's billion with the B. So raids like this could have a significant impact on what's planted and picked here. One of the workers didn't want us to show his face while he talked to us. Another one was okay with us showing her face, but not giving us her name. One of the workers described what he saw when they arrived to work this morning, and the other talked about the anxiety of coming to work because you don't know if ICE will be coming to your Ventura County field while you're working. Here's what they had to say.
Nomás en la mañana vimos un carro, cuando estábamos en la orilla, vimos un carro y venía el coche y los ICE estaban persiguiendo el coche.
A mi temor mío es de que a veces.
What I fear is that sometimes out of necessity we show up wherever there's work. With everything that is happening, it is a bit difficult for us.
In a written statement to Eyewitness News, a spokesperson for the United Farmworkers Foundation says they're taking innocent people who are trying to build their own American dream. This is not law enforcement. It's a campaign of fear against people whose only crime is living and working in the U.S. This is an injustice, and we are calling on our elected officials to speak out and protect their community members. Again, no word on how many people were detained here at this field.
Pigs chasing people down the field.
From Camarillo, I'm Sid Garcia, ABC.
Side note, the United Farmworkers logo is maybe one of the greatest logos that's ever been created.
And we have Trump here now. I guess the dog catching the car. I don't know how he didn't anticipate this being an issue for him, but we have this sort of two-step here where it's about criminals and all the people and all the scary things they do, like rape and give school children fentanyl. And then you have the problem of Tom Homan saying, actually, everyone here is illegal is equally a criminal. Everyone here undocumented is equally criminal, and we're just going to go after them indiscriminately. Here's Trump, though, seeing the bottom line of some of these companies getting hit a little bit, and we can talk about what the actual real solution should be.
What made you change your mind about targeting in California farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business?
Well, we're not targeting. In fact, if you look today, I put out a statement today about farmers. Our farmers are being hurt badly by, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They they're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, great.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to do something about that. We can't take.
I mean, let's just let it play. I mean, I'm astounded by this. I didn't see this clip.
Targeting. In fact, if you look today, I put out a statement today about farmers. Our farmers are being hurt badly by, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, great. And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not. And you know what's going to happen and what is happening? They get rid of some of the people because, you go into a farm and you look and people they've been there for 20, 25 years and they've worked great and the owner of the farm loves them and everything else. And then you're supposed to throw them out. And you know what happens? They end up hiring the people, the criminals that have come in, the murderers from prisons and everything else. So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers and leisure too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
And leisure too. Oh yeah, that's funny. The guy who owns a bunch of hotels.
I mean, we always knew this was going to be a problem, right? We always knew this was going to be a problem because in the minds of the people who listen to Republican propaganda, there has been an open border where every day 300,000 illegal migrants cross and are handed like a social security number by a pink-haired trans member of the Biden administration, and then immediately allowed to go and get a job at a school somewhere, at a kindergarten. And that is not the reality of undocumented migrants in America. They're workers, they're community members, they're fathers, they're mothers, they're people in your community, like I said, who are just trying to live their lives. And so Trump was always, and this is a problem that the Republican Party has often, they had this exact same problem with Obamacare, where they craft this narrative about reality that is so discordant with what is actually happening that there's no way to even try to deliver what they want without hurting all society as a whole, but also making themselves seem as monstrous as possible, because there aren't any MS-13 members in America. There aren't any, not to any meaningful numbers, not enough to arrest 100 of them a day, certainly. But people now want to see these shock and awe campaigns. And yeah, even if Trump is deporting less people than Biden, it's so chaotic. The shock and awe campaign is part of this theater to accomplish a few tasks, right? To start mainstreaming this idea of Trump sending in the federal government, because we know it's mostly Stephen Miller, right? But people like Stephen Miller sending in military into your cities if they don't get their way at the federal level because of state intervention. It's to do the shock and awe campaign against the undocumented community because Stephen Miller is a racist, but also because, that's what the people who voted for Trump want to see. They want to see this, a crackdown on migration, because some of them are explicitly racist and some of them have been taught to mediate the waning material conditions in society through this idea that the influx of migrants into the country from the global south is causing it. And so there, in reality, is no way to get rid of enough migrants, to get rid of enough brown people, even, because we know this is being racialized that way, right? There's not a way to get rid of enough of those people to fix this problem, because A, they're not causing these problems that they're being sold as causing by Republicans, and B, because this is a very racialized narrative, every time you see a brown person in your community, the average racist or person who's been taught to believe these things is going to think there are too many immigrants, because it's just a totally superficial indicator. They see one brown person at the store and they believe that there are 300,000 suspected terrorists crossing the border. They see one Muslim Uber driver or just the person walking down the street, and they think that it's entire invasion. And so none of the stuff is grounded in reality. So Trump has to engage in these incredibly theatrical actions that ultimately just make it a more dangerous place for workers in America, especially undocumented workers, which is bad for business. And this is just another way that Republicans are bad for business and bad for everything else, and just proof that Republican ideology is bad for business. And that's why the leftist solution, which is to integrate these people into our society, which is basically what he's saying they've already done and he's just doing on the back end, is clearly the right thing, because even he's admitting it's the right thing, that they're just fine.
And like Democrats couldn't say that. Like they've integrated. Like who cares that they're here undocumented? Now he can say that.
We're lucky to have them. We're lucky to have them.
It rings so crazy because Democrats are afraid to say exactly what he just said. Just like they're like afraid to say anything like Israel needs to cool it or whatever. And even though he's insincere about this stuff, like it's just wild to see that sort of low hanging fruit be picked by such like a psycho. But the way he he describes these guys as farmers. I'm sorry. If you employ like large numbers of undocumented workers, you're an agriculture capitalist, and we've seen these people dramatized in American history before. John Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath, all about like people from Oklahoma leaving the Dust Bowl and going.
The landlords.
Yeah, exactly. A raw deal from these giant land magnates in California. And I'll tell you, you weren't hearing a lot of of those guys complain when ICE was sticking to detaining not criminals but union leaders. For farm workers, UFW has been on this for a while now. But here's just one short clip from WGRZ TV from a month ago, and you'll see like the problem isn't that they started going after good folks because they were already going after good folks like this. The problem is they started going after just the normal laborers who weren't even thinking about unionizing or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight, members of the United Farm Workers Union rallied outside the Batavia Detention Center after union leaders claimed they were targeted by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The UFW put out a memo today stating that ICE agents stopped a bus of farm workers in Western New York and detained work leaders who were organizing unions for their workplace.
We've been in contact with them. They've been quite visible about their intention to organize in the past, and we're concerned that this was an act of retaliation in addition to a targeted Immigration Enforcement Act. These are not workers that have any criminal background. They don't have any reason to have been targeted by ICE other than this potential unionizing activity.
Two on Your Side has reached out to the Buffalo ICE field office about this alleged incident, but we have not yet heard back.
So everybody like that should not only not be subject to immigration enforcement, they should be citizens. People who have been working here, like you said, like Trump said, for 20 years and are integrating society, they should have been already made citizens.
No, yeah, I think that the right wing's conception of how the border works should be how it works. I think they should show up to the border. They should get a social security number, a worker permit, maybe some hair dye so they can dye their hair purple, a Democratic Party. No. But I think, funny enough, they're now creating the conditions where organizing, like labor organizing, makes the most sense. Because for a lot of people, the idea of organized labor has been totally erased from their understanding of the way in which, like, society should function, and not to mention the way society should function, but also the way in which, like, we got to the point now where we have a lot of the rights that we have, where we were able in the past to actually, take increases in productivity that were happening in society as a result of technological advancement and turn that into like wins for the workers, like a 40-hour work week, a 5-day work week, as opposed to just like concentrate the gains in the hands of the like uber wealthy who are rolling this technology out to like essentially cut costs. Like there's no reason, if you only need half the amount of workers, for example, at your, email sending office where you all send emails because of AI, that we shouldn't just reduce the work week to 20 hours and then give like everyone there a 20-hour job, right? And then just pay them the same because you're getting more work done with less time and less people, right? But instead, we know they're just going to lay off not just 50% of the workforce, but they're going to lay off like 60, 75% of the workforce. But that's why, these instances of ICE cracking down on people, just like the instances of AI, I think are going to cause a resurgence. And we've already seen a resurgence of organized labor because now people feel like not just their job is on the line, but their and their friend's job. And in the case of the undocumented workers, their safety is on the line. And so it makes sense to organize together. And so, solidarity with everybody who's being affected by these things.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.